Right. So this is about claims fraud operational process, the one which we are explaining today, which we are discussing today, because whenever we are initiating the claim processing, sometimes we may receive some fraudulent claims, right? So when we have identified some fraudulent claims and all that, how the uh, claims that are being identified and what must be the operational flow. Being a functional role of a business analyst. At the same time, from the technical side, either we may be a developer or we may be in tester role. So we must be knowing about the flow process first. This is not something intended for any uh, one role. Either it can be a B or someone, right? So whoever are involving in the field of Guidewire insurance related stuff, this process must be known for us. So the flow process as follows. For example, when there is any claim review has initiated, right? So whenever there is any claim review is initiated, which normally we'll get it from FNOL process. You know that, right? So first of all, it starts with FNOL process. Customer will initiate an FNOL process based on the incident happened. So when it comes to the claims and risk concern, generally we have three different roles. One is about the CSR team, which customer service representatives who will receive the claims, all that. At the same time, to adjudicate the claims and all, we have claim adjusters followed by even claim supervisors as well. In addition to that, depends on the claim that we have received and all, we may require some medical examiners or it can any kind of legal opinion, all that. But initially, whenever we have received a claim, there must be a process of understanding over the claims review, which is essentially required. So we need to review the claim first. So when we are in a process of initiating the claim review, there must be some investigation process should have been going on, because what type of claim that we have received, to what extent it is genuine or assigned and all. So at the process of investigation, wherein this has to be assigned to the investigator team, because there are multiple roles, as in the Guidewire Claim Center we see, we have multiple roles. Like investigator is one kind of role where we assign this to the investigator. Based upon the report given by the investigator, when we have identified if there is any kind of fraudulent claim that we have received, if right, so there are two conditions anyway, right? So whenever there are two conditions, one either in the context of investigation and in context of fraud. In the context of investigation, if you have identified that is there is nothing as such, no nothing any kind of fraudulent something of that sort. Generally, claim settlements based upon the claim adjudication, claim payment will be made. But for this condition, what is required? So if there is any investigation happened, investigator has to provide the outcome report, wherein if we have identified there is no fraud has no fraud of the claim that we have identified, automatically payment will be made here, right? So for that, these are the two different conditions we must be knowing. Second, about, for example, if you have identified any kind of claim that we have identified, any fraudulent claim or not, there won't be any kind of claim, payment will not be there, which will be subsequently updated in the claims file. Subsequently, it will be updated in the reverse amount also. At the same time, this will be sent to the claim file closure. From there onwards, it will be updated in the fraud watch list. So this is how generally the process is required. So now here, many of the people may have a question here, right? So in what way, being a business analyst, we are related? At the same time, in what way, being a development team, we must be knowing? At the same time, in what way, being a tester, I am related over here. So when we, as a business analyst, when we are identifying, so for this, what kind of rules that are to be defined? Because there are a couple of rules we have in business rules in claim center. We have activity rules, means how the activity process of the flow that we have initiated. So those flow process has to be initiated by the BA. At the same time, what is the predominant risk that is involved? For that, exposure rules are being identified because of fraudulent claims, assume that, right? As an example of it, even exposure rules has to be written by the BA. Third, about the kind of reserve rules, right? So because reserve rules means whatever the reserve amount of money that we are spending for that, right? That's a different thing. So understanding about the particular scenario and writing down different underwriting rules followed by the activity patterns or something. Claim rules like activity rules, activity patterns, exposure rules. All these things has to be written by the business analyst. That's how generally you need to know about the process. If we are coming from the development side, we must be knowing about this logic. That's where here you can see there is a logic which is applied over here. Two different logics. For example, here is a logic where we have identified some claim, right? So there won't be any kind of payment won't be processed further. If there is any kind of claim that was fraud is not identified, automatically payment settlement can be done. So implement a logic for the particular fraudulent based claims what we have received is something as a logic we have to be applied as a business analyst, as a developer. Okay, developer we need to write down the logic for the particular scenario. And this is one kind of scenario I can say that. For this particular scenario, as a developer, we need to write a logic, right? So for that, we use Gosu programming already in Gosu in our claims developer studio. So where we have to write down the logic for the particular scenario. So for this particular scenario, you need to understand the business situation. That's how, as a developer, you will be involved here. Now, if it is from the tester point of view, right? So in what way, being a tester, I am related, right? So because being a tester, especially from the manual testing side, we have to create the test cases based on the particular scenario. Assume that this is a particular scenario we have taken for fraudulent claims. This is the scenario we have taken. Based upon the scenario, what we have to do, we need to what we call we need to write down the test cases for the particular scenario, right? So and these test scenario has to be updated when there is any code that is executed for the particular scenarios and all that, whether is it according to the expected result this was developed or not, will be cross checked by the testing team. Either it can be of automation or it can be of manual testing, all that. So in these three roles, understanding about these kind of scenarios is always essential for a role as business analyst, or we may be a B, or we may be a developer, or we may be a tester. This is something that we must be knowledgeable with. This is what something that we must be good with. So when we are attending any kind of interviews or something of that sort, these kind of understanding is always essentially required, and we must have that understanding level where we have to provide necessary requirements, whatever the knowledgeable requirement that we have, and how this can be addressed. It's not only about the practical learning as a business and as a developer or someone we must be having. Apart from that, we must be having a role as a even understanding multiple scenarios, being into the kind of role what we have played. This is something essentially required as in when we are applying uh, as when we are applying that we are having some real-time exposure or something. These kind of scenarios are something essentially required. This is what something you need to learn. This is all about this video.